Acid Based here with Marco. Acid Based here with Frank. So we're here with Marina.
I'm here with Sam.
Acid Based here with Samir, freight carrier sitting with Fook. Acid Based here with Duke. Acid Based here with Augie. Acid Based here with Hector. Acid Based here with Dayan. What is going on, everybody? Acid Based episode 7. Going to be joined today by Valerie Carlson, talent acquisition at Logitalent. Just before we get into today's show, we got to go through the efrouting top hauls of the week. Coming in at the number 1 spot for dry van is going to be a Columbus, Ohio to Raleigh, North Carolina. About 446 on the miles for 2.5 to 3.13 on the high end. We've got a Charleston, West Virginia over to Baltimore, a 371 on the miles, 2.6 to 3.35 on the high end. Pretty solid lane, shorter one. Coming in the number 1 spot on reefers of Madison, Wisconsin over to Bedford, Indiana, 403 on the miles, 3.4 to 4.4 on the high end there. We got a Chicago over to Pittsburgh, 519 miles, 3.2 to almost $4 on the high end there. Hopping over to Flatbed, we got the Akron, Ohio over to Kentucky, 381 miles, 2.9 to 3.4 on the top end. And the Kinston, North Carolina over to Allentown, 480 miles, 2.7 to almost 3.9 on the high end there. Pretty big variance. getting into the best loop for the dry van side of things. Start out in Chicago, head over to Maryland, then to Nashville, Tennessee, over to Richmond, Allentown, back to Chicago. Normal, 6-7 day transit, 7.2 to 8.6 on the gross, on the high end. Getting into the reefer side of things, going to start out in Marshall, Minnesota, head over to Allentown, then to New York, Baltimore, Mass, back to Minnesota. 9.3 to almost 11 grand on the high end there on gross for the reefer side of things. And finally, hopping into flatbed, started in Jacksonville, Florida, head over to Panama City, Florida, then to Warsaw, Indiana, Atlanta, Kentucky, and back to Jacksonville. Gonna net you around 9 grand to 10 grand on that one. And that's it for the efrouting top hauls of the week. Let's hop into today's show. How's it going, Valerie?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming by on this Wednesday on lunch break here.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Let's hop right into it. How did you get into logistics? What was your first job?
Yeah, so prior to logistics, I was with Tempur-Pedic in retail sales, high-end mattresses, best mattress out there. I'll still promote them to this day, even though I don't work for them. But I decided I needed something different because the retail life and the hours are not conducive to raising small children. I wasn't home for holidays. I worked a lot of evenings. Little did I know that was quite a lie because freight is 24/7. So, but it's fine. So I had a dear friend who actually was a recruiter for one of the larger 3PLs in the Chicagoland area. And I said, hey, get me out. I'll do anything else. I love sales. I don't care what the vertical is. I just want more of a structured, standard, work schedule. So I interviewed and got lucky. They were taking green reps in at the time. So I started as a sales executive. That's how I got into it.
Can we name the brokerage, or we're going to stay away from that one?
No, I think we can. Blue Grace Logistics. They're headquartered out of Tampa, but they had a Chicago office where I worked out of.
Nice. So you come in with no experience. I'm assuming you get into maybe shadowing a broker for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was very overwhelming. I had no idea what the acronyms were, LTL, FTL. There's an acronym.
I mean, how was your first experience, day one walking into the office, seeing the atmosphere of, a brokerage office?
It was alive. It was electric. I loved it. The bullpen energy was amazing and easy to feed off of people. There's just so much going on. It's so fast paced. We were split up into pods. So you had your sales reps, you had the carriers.
We got Nick's watching the show. He's also a Blue Grace alum. So I guess that's something in common there.
Yes. Yep. I know Nick. He was out of a different office, but yeah. So, it was just very much alive, like I said, and very fast paced. I felt like my brain was bleeding, in the first couple months, just trying to absorb all of the information. But I had amazing mentors that really trained us the right way and took their time. So I was a sponge and tried to just absorb everything that I was learning. Started with selling just LTL, moved into partials and more of the truckload. But then what our office carved out for ourselves out of all the other Blue Grace offices was drayage. So drayage really became our niche. And that is, even though I'm not slinging freight anymore, that to this day is still my favorite mode.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned, you got into LTL and drayage, which is two parts of logistics I've literally never been a part of. I don't even think back in my carrier days I've hauled a single partial, like just ever. I think I hauled one partial for FTL rate, and that was my entire career.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're their own beast. LTL, I'll be honest, not my favorite. the margins tend to be a little bit thinner, and those customers want the most updates, and it's consolidated freight. So it was more of a headache. And that's, I think, why I was really driven towards drayage. There's just so much money per load. I mean, I don't know what the margins are necessarily today compared to when I was doing it, before 2020. But I mean, you could be making $500, $600 a pop on each container, and it was consistent freight. That's what I loved about it. I could count on those delivery orders to just keep, rolling in every week.
Okay, so you found your niche and kind of what you enjoyed in drayage. Take us through kind of the timeline. What year did you get started on Blue Grace?
I was there from 2016 until 2020, I believe. So I left literally within a week or two, right before Illinois went on lockdown for COVID.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, did you get into obviously building your own book, or were you mostly doing kind of carrier sales? I mean, what were you doing with a sales background there?
No, yeah, I was building my own book. We had a carrier sales department, so I wasn't cradle to grave. There were random times where sometimes I would bounce in. Yeah, but generally speaking, I was customer focused. So I was looking for leads that, everywhere and anywhere. You'd be driving down the road, write down, a company name. It was just, once you're in it, that's all you think about.
No, it's just funny because you're based out of Chicago, and so we used to always, or I've always known it, sort of as the split model, where you have like the broker building the sales, and then you have the ops team covering the freight. And up until a couple months ago, I found out that they actually call it the Chicago model as well. So I guess that would make sense with you actually being in Chicago.
Yeah. We had, a customer service team that would assist with more of the tracking and the tracing, but building loads, doing spot quotes and things like that. I did take some of that operational, those tasks myself too.
Yeah, so I mean, take me through what brought you out of the Blue Grace environment. What your next step was after that?
Yes, so Blue Grace, as some brokerages do, have compensation changes, and I was not a fan of the changes that were made. The commission structure was a little bit confusing for me to figure out. I felt like I was this mad scientist trying to, if I do this, then that, will I get this? And so basically what I uncovered was, okay, I'm going to have a higher goal, and essentially I'll be making less money.
Yeah, I mean, you ended up like the meme, the meme of that lady with like all the math equations like going like around her head.
Yes. Yeah. Or, It's Always Sunny. Who was it? Was it Charlie or something, where he's got the cigarette and there's the board behind him with all the lines?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you got to start doing stuff like that to figure out your own commission and payment at any job, I mean, it might not be the best situation.
Yeah, it just felt demotivating. But I don't want to say anything bad, about the brokerage. Like I said, I loved my time there. I loved the people that I worked with. I'm so incredibly grateful for the opportunity. Take
me through your next step. Obviously, that's a decent reason and enough reason to get going. Where did you land, after coming out of there? Did you still have your book with you? I mean, what happened after that?
No. So I had an ironclad 2-year non-compete, and everything I do is ethical. I didn't want to mess with that, especially because there were people that were staying there after I left. I knew those accounts would be transferred to them. I didn't want to mess with that. So I had a come to Jesus moment. Like, what do I want to do next? I was always intrigued by recruiting. So I got lucky. Someone scouted me, and I tried my hand at IT recruiting. That's how I got to K-Force. But it's interesting. So like I said, that's the week that Illinois went on lockdown. I was 5 days into training, I knew nothing about IT. We had to pack up our desks and do everything from home,
Wow.
which, yeah.
I mean,
So,
I love work from home, and I'm a big advocate for work from home for people with experience. But when it comes to being green in a role or coming in with like in a learning environment, the office is always going to be the option. And for you to get
oh,
forced to home when you need it to actually be in the office, is kind of tough.
no, I agree completely. So, to make it even harder, the schools also shut down. The schools were going remote. At the time, our oldest, our son, he was entering kindergarten. How do you navigate remote kindergarten, where they're just learning how to learn? And here I am trying to learn a brand new industry. I mean, there were a
Yeah,
lot of
that's a tough one.
tears. I learned that I am not a good teacher. um, but we did the best that we could. So, that's the shortest stint on my resume. I lasted about 9 months. It just got to the point where I had to have a sit down, with my bosses, and we agreed this isn't working out. The timing was just bad. It was no one's fault. It just was what it was.
I mean, were
And
you missing freight during this period? Like, was freight still on your mind? Did you love the industry? Because most people that obviously stick around freight longer than I'd say maybe 6 to 12 months. I mean, that's usually a person that never wants to get out of freight.
I did, absolutely. But again, that non-compete, that was 2 years.
No. Of course, I'm not saying
So,
like you obviously had reasons to not be in freight. I'm just saying
yeah,
this
yeah.
whole time, were you thinking about it? Was your steps to get back into it after all of that?
I did. So I love logistics. But knowing that we had that 2 year waiting period, I'm like, how can I still get back in? And then, so come full circle, that's how I got into logistics recruiting. Um, so after I left K Force, it was, I don't know, another 9, 10 months. It's all a blur, that whole time period.
Yeah, totally.
Um, but I stayed back, first and foremost, I'm a mom, and I needed to make sure that our son was well adjusted and that he was taken care of. So yet again, I got scouted. I got really lucky. The next company that I had gone to, they waited for me. I said, look, I'd love to join your team, but I can't do anything until summer break when my son is out of school, because until these kids go back into the classroom, I'm going to fail. So that's how I got into logistics recruiting. So I was like, oh, this is wonderful. I get to keep building my skills and exploring the recruiting life, but now I can apply all of the valuable knowledge. It wasn't in vain. I get to take that logistics knowledge and bring it to logistics recruiting.
Yeah, so I mean, take me through your journey. I mean, is that where you landed now, or did you have a step before that?
So I recently, within the last year, now I'm with a different logistics recruiting firm. Ironically, in all of these jobs, I've been, basically poached or scouted, right? Ironically, the reason I'm at Logitalent today is because the recruiter, Portia, shout out to Portia, I love you. She had been scouting me since 2019, trying to get me into like another freight broker position. And I remember messaging her back saying, I'm flattered, but thank you. I'm, not looking right now. So I thought, you know what? She's been after me for how many damn years? Let's have a conversation. And Logitalent, what got me here also, I was really intrigued by being an agent, so to speak. I had 100% commission, a 1099 position. If you would have asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have laughed. There's no way with kids, like that's a lot of risk. But I just started seeing more and more people on LinkedIn talk about this 1099, 100% commission life. And I thought, you know what? I know I'm good. I know I'm genuine. I know that I've been building this empire. I've been building my network, blood, sweat, and tears. What is stopping me? I'm leaving so much money on the table by not being 100% commission. So I took a leap of faith. And that's how I got to where I am now.
Nice. So, I mean, I think that's like a good testament to anybody who's going to watch this, who is a recruiter, who wants to get into recruiting. I mean, the recruiter that, like, in the end got you had been on you for years. Like, this isn't sort of something that happens in a month or two or, a week. I mean, I've gone into recruiting a bit too. And I've always kind of equated it to like planting seeds. You're just planting seeds all over the place. You're just kind of watering them and watching everything kind of go how it goes. And I think anybody who's in recruiting or wants to get into recruiting needs to understand that it's like a marathon. It's definitely not a sprint.
Absolutely. You're dealing with the human element. You see a lot of posts on LinkedIn where recruiters get bashed because there's this negative connotation that we're all bottom feeders. We don't care about the individuals we're trying to help. We ghost them. We mislead them. But that isn't. There's bad brokers out there. There's bad doctors out there. There's bad mechanics out there. It's just not.
No, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I mean, those are all fair things that I'm sure do happen. It's like the same thing where a broker gets mad that a carrier assumes they're lying to them. Well, that's because there's a lot of brokers who do lie to carriers, and there's a lot of recruiters who do ghost candidates. And I mean, those are valid, things that people are mad about that I'm sure have happened to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn all day long trying to preach and educate, professionals that might be looking for a new opportunity and just let them know you have to vet your recruiters the same way that you vet your employers, the same way that you vet your relationships and who you're going to marry, So I consider myself a professional matchmaker. I open the door. I have a lot of education to give to candidates in terms of helping them with their resumes, helping them tweak some of their answers.
So let me tee you up for it properly. I mean, take me through your current role, the company you're with, and what your day-to-day sort of looks like.
Yeah. So Logitalent, we are a logistics and global forwarding supply chain, recruiting firm. That is the umbrella that we stay under. And we service clients all across the nation, like I said, in those different buckets. So, my day-to-day, it's all time blocked. You have to have a plan. If you come in each day with no plan, you're going to fail. So,
it's the best story. You don't plan to fail, you fail to plan. So.
Yeah. So, a certain portion of my day is always sourcing, looking for candidates to fill the job roles that my clients have, or even opportunistically, I might find a great candidate that I don't maybe have a job role today, but I know they need to be somewhere. So that's part of the negotiating and the selling, right? I'm, telling my clients, hey, you really need to look at this person. Maybe you can create space for them. So there's a lot of that sourcing, and then getting them set up for the interviews. Now I got to prep them for the interviews. I have to debrief with them after the interviews. I have to go back to the client to get additional information. I'm sitting in on kickoff calls with my leadership team. So if we're landing a new client, I'm the one that's going to be at the table asking all the pertinent questions to make sure that we are servicing their account, to the best of our ability. And I walk the candidates through the entire process until hopefully we can, negotiate an offer that they would be excited to sign. But then the relationship doesn't stop there. I'm still checking in on them their first week, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days plus out. I mean, I tell everybody, my candidates are my babies. I'm so emotionally invested in anybody that I work with. I have a duty to the client, of course, but I need the candidate to be just as happy as well. I don't want that on my conscience,
Yeah.
I won't be able to sleep at night if I know that I put them in a role that they're going to fail in, or that is with, a crappy company. Not that we work with, shitty clients,
No, no.
but
I mean, I think like freight and logistics has a retention problem across the board. Whether you want to talk about carrier sales and the broker side, whether you want to talk about dispatchers, whether you want to talk about drivers or agents or recruiting. I mean, freight is a high intensity job, and we obviously do have a retention issue. And there's a lot of job hopping and a lot of people. I mean, I personally know like about 40% of the dispatchers I used to like, just see every day, about 40% of them walked out of this industry in the past like 6 to 12 months just due to the stress of it. So when you're talking recruiting, you got to make these hires, but you have to also, like you said, you're emotionally invested in them. You actually have to view them as humans and not just a number on a piece of paper, or like, view them as a commission check. So.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not here to play with people's lives. I genuinely want to see them succeed, help them level up. And it's so rewarding. I mean, the kinds of people that I've been exposed to and been privileged to work with. Some of my favorite placements when I think about it. There's one in particular that took 4 years out of the industry to have children. Um, and just as well as I do, no one cares what you did 2-3 years ago. It's what can you do today? How are you
No,
relevant today?
I mean, when I used to interview people on the carrier side of things for dispatch roles, I don't care what you did like, 3 weeks ago. Like if you've been out of this game 30 days, I mean, you're not going to exactly have your finger on the pulse of the freight market. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kept in touch with this candidate, throughout the years, and she was trying so hard to back in, and just couldn't get it done.
Just the
So,
amount of support you have in the comments is really good to see. I mean, you have Diego, you have Kelsey, you have Clark. Everybody's here. Just
oh, that's,
I can just tell the amount of like just being a genuine person will bring that out, right?
oh, thank you. Yeah, I keep seeing bubbles pop up. I'm like, what's going on? Hey
Yeah, I
guys.
mean, here you can read them all if you want. Yeah, there you
Uh,
go. I don't like
um,
to interrupt the guests during their speeches to announce the comments, but I mean it's just like one after another, one after another. So we'll
yeah.
take a pause here just so you can actually see what's going on.
Well, maybe I shouldn't look at them because I'm also very emotional, and if I keep reading it, I'll start crying. I have a
I mean,
very thick skin, but I cry at everything.
let's get into some kind of recruiting tips and tricks. I mean, if you want to kind of, for anybody that's going to watch this, obviously there's going to be people that are either new to recruiting, in recruiting, looking to kind of improve, or people that are just pondering the idea of getting into it. I mean, what would be some tips you would give people that are trying to enter recruiting in the freight space?
Oh, that's a good one. If you're brand new to recruiting, I would say if you find an opportunity, just like I did in freight brokerage and just like I did with getting into recruiting, be a sponge. Like listen to what your mentors are telling you to do, would be one. Another, you need to build your brand. You need to put yourself out there because no one likes to be sold anything, right? Like recruiting, it's not hardcore sales, but it is sales, essentially. There's a lot of negotiating. So you need to break down those objections and earn people's trust. So humanize yourself. Get on LinkedIn, post content, build your network. Never stop posting, never stop adding connections.
I've never heard that one before, but I might put that on a shirt one day. I mean, never stop posting. Yeah.
Never stop posting. Yeah. I mean, it's not always the most comfortable, as extroverted as I am. I don't necessarily like to share a lot of myself on LinkedIn, but I know that I need to humanize myself, and I need people to see me. I post a lot of content about my kids, making jokes about motherhood. I love to garden. Like I just want people to see a little bit more of who I really am. And I think that that has paid dividends. I have people now reaching out to me, privately messaging me, hey, I saw that post and I wanted you to know that really resonated with me. I'd be honored if, we could partner together. So that's one thing I would say, even for newer freight brokers, that's my biggest regret, was not leveraging LinkedIn more.
No, I mean, I've said that to like a million people and I'll stand by it. I mean, every single business, every single thing in my life that is work related, I have found, negotiated, or, has been in my life through LinkedIn. And it's really funny to look back on that, because the only reason I remember the day I made my LinkedIn account, and it was with the sole purpose of making memes to make fun of brokers. Like, 'cause I was back in the carrier. So that was it. That was my only thing. I had like no goal, no vision, no idea how much that this platform was going to impact my life when I started, like, I think maybe like 2 years ago at this point. And I think LinkedIn's the best social media platform out there, because it's a platform where there's jokes and there's some, funny stuff to see here and there, but you can learn something. You can meet real people who are doing real business, and there's real opportunities. And I mean, every other social media, unless you become a literal influencer and you're making money from the views, there's not business being done on those platforms. So anybody in any type of business should be leveraging LinkedIn. And it's tough because, like, your first post, your first 100 posts, like they're probably going to suck and nobody's going to read them. And even if they are good, still probably nobody's going to read them, but you just got to stay consistent with it.
Oh yeah. Like you said, it is a marathon. You know what I mean? It's not a race. And I'd say another tip too, don't try to pretend like you know everything when you don't. It's okay to ask questions and ask more questions. Just keep asking questions when you're talking to people. People love to talk about themselves, right? So if I don't understand something, or if someone gives me an acronym that I'm like, oh, that's a new one, I've never heard that before, I'm not going to pretend like I know what they're talking about. I'm going to tell me more about that. I'm interested.
I got hit on a really bad one. This just reminded me of this like a couple months ago, where somebody had texted me over like, oh, they're an SME. I'm like, God, I have no idea what that means. And
What
it's
does
a
it mean?
subject matter expert. I don't know if people actually use that like often, but that's one where I got hit. Like, I was in like a pretty high level meeting and I got hit with that. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just pretend I know what that one means and figure it out later.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So just, play question master. Those are, a few tips that I can think of. And also too, LinkedIn is a great tool, but there are so many other ones out there as well. I mean, you can add yourself to different, freight groups or recruiting groups on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, there's a wealth of information out there.
What's
TikTok.
going on with Ryan and this whole DOT thing? Is this like some inside joke I'm not aware of?
Dot. Yeah, that's my nickname. So
Okay.
he's roasting me right now. Thanks, Ryan.
I mean, can we find out why it's your nickname? Does it have to do with the DOT, or is nothing to do with that?
No, nothing with DOT.
Okay.
Just like the actual dot, like a dot. So
Okay. Like, my freight brain just keeps reading DOT, and I have PTSD from when they've screwed me over as a carrier and pulled my trucks over all the time.
Oh yeah, no one likes DOT week.
Yeah.
No, so that inside joke, me and him and a couple of others on our team, we went to Austin to visit a client. And I'm pretty damn smart, college educated, but directionally challenged. And I was in charge of the walking directions to get to the cafe or wherever we were trying to go. And at some point we realized we just kept walking in a circle. And I had no idea what was going on. So Ryan's cousin took my phone. He goes, we're going in a circle because we're following the dot. You are the dot, mate. And he's got this adorable accent. But yeah, so that's why they call me Dot now, because I'm directionally challenged. And I loved it so much, I put it on a sweatshirt. I made it a sweatshirt for all of us that says, you are the dot. but on a more genuine, like emotional side of it too, it was a reminder, never forget who you are, never forget where you're going, where you came from. You are the dot.
Well, to stay true to my humble beginnings on LinkedIn, I was gonna make the joke that you used to be like a dispatcher, you should know how to use Google Maps, but you were a broker, so to stay true to that, I mean, brokers don't know how to use Google Maps, I guess. Because whenever I'm out with my friends, they're all still on the carrier side of things, and we all have these jokes when we're going somewhere. It's like everyone's a Google Map expert. We can all find like all these things on Google Maps.
Yeah.
You being a broker makes that
Yeah,
story ring true.
yeah, I can't find my way out of a cardboard box, but matchmaking, setting people up with, new careers, I can do that all day. But if you ask me for directions, I'm useless.
So just to set up a nice little clip, I mean, if you want to give me the elevator pitch one more time on Logitalent, and then we'll head into some more fun things.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, Logitalent, like I said, is, a logistics and supply chain global forwarding recruiting firm. We specialize with more of your mid up to executive level positions. But not to say that once in a blue moon, we might have a position that we can take more green reps. But yeah, we're partnered with clients, asset, non-asset 3PLs all across the nation. I work with agents. We've got remote, hybrid, on-site opportunities. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
That's Logitalent in a nutshell. All right, moving into my favorite section of the podcast, or has become my favorite section of the podcast. What is your one or two craziest logistics stories?
There's so many, and I got to think about the ones that would be more appropriate too.
Yeah. Okay, so let me disclaimer that I used to have a section or a segment, like "What's your favorite joke?" But I've cut that one out. So like, let's just pick a story that is going to be okay for you to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I have no filter. I mean, I'm fine to tell you the craziest ones, but I'm just anyway. When I was a freight broker, let's see, the craziest. I had a freight forwarding customer. We had about 20 containers that were importing, and about 5 of them had arrived before the others. Turns out they were infested with a very invasive Asian beetle. That was fun. In hindsight, we should have just said, no, we're refusing it, like export it, send it back. But it just snowballed, and it got worse and worse because their client didn't want them to be sent back. They wanted us to handle it on the ground. So me and the customer had to jump through hoops and train ourselves. We had no idea what we were doing, but we had to find fumigation, sites. We had to get the Department of Agriculture involved. And all of this product was eventually going to be delivered to a food grade warehouse. So then we had to take everything out of the containers, repackage, relabel it. I mean, if you can imagine the per diem, the
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, did in the end of all of this, was it even worth it at all? Like, I feel like it wasn't.
No, I mean, margin wise, yeah, there was a lot of margin with the storage, the repackaging. I mean, the back and forth. It got very convoluted. But yeah, I like to say everybody's welcome. I saved the United States from
Yeah.
from this invasive beetle. So that's probably, one of the craziest stories.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing. I mean, I kind of figured the story wasn't going to end with, and that's why the United States has this invasive species.
No, I saved everybody.
I feel like you wouldn't have told the story if that's how it ended. So.
No. But yeah, I mean, it was a headache. It was 20 containers, but then repackaged, and we just kept running it back and forth. And then the customer would want to change it halfway. It just got very confusing. And then on the logistics recruiting side, one of the craziest, I mean, you see a lot of crazy stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
I've had, this is very inappropriate, but I thought it was funny. I had once received a picture from a random candidate that was them in all their glory,
Nice.
full
Oh,
mass next to a Glade can. So it was a DP pic.
I mean, was it on purpose or was this like accident? I don't know.
I don't even know how this person, I don't know who the person was. Their face wasn't in it. It was just a random text that came to my phone, and I
Ah,
opened it up like, what is this? But it made me laugh. We immediately had to, block the number and everything. But
maybe
um,
your phone used to be somebody's ex-girlfriend's phone number, so maybe it had nothing to do with you in the end.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it since, but yeah, that was
Yeah,
probably the
crazy.
most
I mean,
craziest.
on that topic, I've been trying to hunt somebody down for Carrier Defender for like a month. And the other day, a day or two ago, I got them on the phone and they told me the number I'd been calling was disconnected. I told them, yeah, but for the past month, it's been ringing like the entire time and then it hangs up. So I said, it's not disconnected. Like, oh, well, it's not our phone number anymore. So for the past month, I've been calling a stranger like 3 times a day for the past 30 days. So I'm actually kind of happy they didn't answer the phone at that point.
Oh my God. At some point, it would have been funnier if they just picked up and then you became best friends. Or what if that was your future wife?
Yeah, I guess we'll never know. Heading into some more personal stuff. I mean, I was gonna ask you, what's your favorite movie, favorite TV show, stuff like that, but I'm more interested in your like turtles and fish. I mean, what's going on over there? You have like a farm at your house. Like,
Yeah, we did move out to Farmtown. Yeah, we've got a koi pond in the back with that just keep
oh, you have
growing.
like fish, like outside fish. Like,
Yes. Well, we had them inside, but then it was just stinking up the basement. So I told my husband and son, like, take this damn aquarium out to the backyard. We will aerate it, in the winter time. We'll keep them alive, but I don't want them in here. The turtles, that is a very, very cute and funny story. So we had one turtle that was named Jerry. And then I guess the turtle they kept it from me, my husband and my son, but I guess Jerry disappeared. So they went to replace it, and then it was Larry. And I kept calling it Jerry, and my son was like, no, mom, his name is Larry. And I'm like,
okay, but wait a second. So I was gonna buy a turtle when I first moved to Serbia because I went to some like local market and they were just selling random animals, and I just never really seen a turtle before. And I thought for like, 'cause I had cats my whole life, and I thought I was gonna buy this turtle for the only reason was because it couldn't escape because it's a turtle. So how did you manage to lose your turtle?
that's a great question. You'd have to ask my husband and son. I have no idea, but they lost Jerry. And then my son was heartbroken, but they kept it from me, which made me even more mad because I'm like, that was his first heartbreak. And, they tried to keep it from me. So then they replaced it with Larry. And then what happened with Larry? Then Larry disappeared. So my husband went to go get another turtle.
Hey, sorry, I just I can hear like there's a crazy protest right outside my house. Like I can hear through my headphones. And I'm like, what the hell's going
Oh my
on behind
gosh.
me?
I hope you guys are
Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, no, we're fine. We're just a country that actually stands up when bad things happen. So
Good.
uh, yeah, it is
Um,
pretty good. Okay, so you guys lost the turtle somehow, and then they replaced the turtle. So I'm assuming you found the original turtle.
no, never found the original turtle.
Oh,
So then we have Larry, but then Larry disappeared because he was in the pond at this point. So the second one was in the pond. He disappeared. Our son didn't know about it. My husband was like, we have to get another turtle. And I was like, no, we don't. That's like the third turtle. So he goes and gets a third turtle. That one disappears. I think there's some kind of crane or big bird that keeps, dipping down.
well,
But
okay,
my
wait. So
husband,
where are these turtles? They're outside the whole time.
eventually they were, yeah. Because remember, I
Ah,
wanted the
okay.
aquarium out. So, but I said, I told him, I'm like, we're done with the turtles. But it got to the point where he's like, I can't go into the pet store and get another turtle. This is like the fourth turtle and I don't know how many months. He's like, they're gonna think I'm a crazy person. So yeah. Our son knew that the first turtle disappeared, but The other ones he thinks is all Larry, and they're not.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, we'll just move on from the turtles. I mean, that's pretty crazy. You guys keep losing turtles. That's something I didn't think was humanly possible. I'm gonna look for this one question. My editor. So we brought in the editor, and he sent me over a question he wanted me to ask starting today, and I forgot to write it down. So his question is, "What's the scariest moment of your journey to success?"
Hmm. The scariest moment of my journey to success.
I mean, for you, I mean, just hearing your story, I would assume it was probably the day when you decided to go full commission.
Yes, I was gonna say, I think, it's really the fear of the unknown, right? And that's a really big step to take. You're only eating what you kill. So, but I am very resilient and I refuse to let fear stand in the way. And I'll tell you, I've never been happier. I mean, the difference in my salary and my lifestyle is astronomical. So that momentum keeps me going. And yeah, only
Yeah,
fear can
I
hold
mean,
you back.
you gotta gamble on yourself if you believe in yourself, and that's the thing. I mean, you did it when you had kids, which to me, I mean, I'm pretty young. I hope to have kids one day, but I don't know if I would be able to do something like that if I had kids. I feel like that's probably what most people go through. It's a whole different story when you have kids. But I'm happy to hear you did it, you succeeded, and it didn't go obviously the wrong direction.
Yeah, and I need to make a lot more money because we just have to keep buying turtles over here. So,
Yeah, you guys have a turtle budget every month, dude.
it's
Your husband should
insane.
just register to get a discount somehow. It could be like the monthly turtle fee, man.
Yeah, no, I will like my husband said, they're at some point they're gonna question me. He's like, I feel like I'm gonna get arrested like for turtle neglect.
Yeah. They probably think you're making like turtle soup or something, or like carving out the shells as like ashtrays or something over there. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that's
moving into our last two questions, we got: how often do you think of the Roman Empire?
how often do I think of the Roman Empire? Strangely enough, more often than not, because you know, what did they say about oh, I'm blanking now. There was a quote about it. Um, but no, I do think about it actually a lot more. I'm actually huge into history and research, so it is something that I do think about.
I just found so I used to ask this question to kind of be involved in the answer, but I found it's a lot funnier when you just sit there in complete silence and let people
Yeah,
just
no, I mean that's
you
one of
know?
my it's one of my weird pastimes. I really like to get into documentaries and like learning about history and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, I actually do kind of think about that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not huge into history and things like from a long, long time ago and stuff like that, but I am huge into documentaries of like, like the biggest scams that happened and like the kind of true crime documentaries or like how, like, for example, the Spotify on Netflix, the show about how Spotify got started. Like, I love stuff like that, or
Mm,
Blackberry or Tetris, like all those movies where it's like how real things, like, more recent events kind of happen. I'm really into stuff like that too.
mm. Yeah, no, I go down a lot of rabbit holes or watch a lot of documentaries and things about like the Egyptian pyramids. How are they built? Ancient
Ryan
aliens.
says you probably think of the Roman Empire more than he does. So
Definitely more than I do.
there's
Yeah.
that. All right, we're wrapping up the show with the final and longest recurring question of the show. It's chicken wing choices. So when you eat chicken wings, you prefer drums or flats?
Flats.
Flats. All right. Ranch
Is
or
that
blue
the right
cheese?
answer?
No, it's the wrong answer. So you're 0 for 1. Ranch or blue cheese on the dipping sauce?
Oh, I like both. It depends on my mood. I don't know if you can make me choose.
I mean, that's that one we don't really deduct points for since blue cheese is an acquired taste. So I mean, you could kind of just one day one day the other. That's kind of fair. But back to the most important one, or I guess second most important one, is breaded or non-breaded on the chicken wings.
Non-breaded?
Non-breaded. All right, so you're 0 for 2, and we won't deduct for the middle since you kind of like blue cheese.
Don't
I mean,
hold
I
it
don't know
against
how
me.
you guys like flats. Do you eat flats by breaking it and then like doing that trick where you pull out all the meat?
Isn't that how you're supposed to?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's new to me. I hate flats, so I never thought about it. And then we got boneless ranch. I mean, yeah, that's chicken nuggets at this point, bro. It's not
Yeah.
Papa John's. But
No,
okay, yeah, so
I don't like
I
boneless.
didn't know about the flat trick, and then Justin Martin sent me a YouTube video so I could learn how to do it, and I just haven't really learned how to do it. So
Oh yeah, it's a crime if you leave even one piece of meat on that bone.
yeah. Well, anyways, thank you for joining me, Valerie. Good luck out there with your recruiting and with Logitalent. And if you guys need anything, just let me know.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You
Take
too.
care.
And that's going to wrap up episode 7 of Asset Base with Valerie Carlson, talent acquisition at Logitalent. Hit them up for all your freight needs. And that's going to be it for me, everybody. Have a good day.
But I'm just getting started. My eyes on the target. Nah, nah. You're the better ones you get.
Asset Based here with Marco. Asset Based here with Frank. So we're here with Marina.
I'm here with Sam.
Asset Based here with Samir, freight carrier sitting with Fook. Asset Based here with Duke. Asset Based here with Augie. Asset Based here with Hector. Asset Based here with Dayan.